Hello guys, what's up? This is Mortaza. Welcome back to the next episode of this TypeScript series on my channel, A Coder Journey. In this episode, I've decided to talk about utility types. Now in TypeScript, there is a large number of types that can help with some common scenarios, right? For manipulating different types. These are called utility types. And there are different utility types. All of them, each one of them is aimed at a specific scenario and can help us to, resolve a specific challenge. I'm gonna talk about them. I'm gonna show you an example of using them. So the first one, which I'm gonna talk about, is partial, right? Partial can change the properties of an object to be optional. Let me give you an example. Suppose I'm gonna create an interface here called user, right? So user. And then for this user, oh my God. For this user, I'm gonna say ID, number. I'm gonna say username, of course, string. Then I'm gonna say email, a string. Right? So now if I come here and say const of user, right? And then user, and then come and add, for example, ID as 1, and then email as let's say some email at user.com, right? And then let me go on and type user.email. TypeScript is unhappy here. Why is that? It says property username is missing in type, ID, number, email. Required. So actually we have skipped the username, which is a required property in this interface. We are not setting a value, and this is the reason why TypeScript is unhappy. Is there a way that I can use to tell TypeScript that this, username is going to be optional? Of course. In order to do that, you can use the partial utility type. How can we do that? I can say type partial user, right? And then I'm going to say partial user. What this does is that it will make all the properties of the user type optional. So if I declare my user of type partial user, the error is gone. Why? Because username is optional in the partial user. How? By using the partial type utility. If I hover my mouse here, I can also see the question mark, right? We know the meaning of question mark from the previous videos. Means that these properties with question marks, they are optional. So the partial utility type can change the properties, the required properties of a type to optional. And one of the main usages of this partial utility type is that it allows you to make the properties optional, and that can be helpful when you want to create a new object based on an existing type, but you do not want to provide values for all the properties, right? So here we are declaring the type based on interface, but we are not willing to provide values for each one of the properties. Now the counterpart of partial is the utility type required, which, as the name suggests, changes all the properties in an object to be required. So if I can, for example, if I come here and declare an interface, for example, I'm gonna say user with optional props, right? And then I'm gonna go on and say, for example, username is a string, and then, for example, a password, right, is optional. It's of type string, right? Let me go here now, and now I can, of course, use the required utility type to make all the properties of this type required. How? I can say let, for example, new user, right? and it's going to be the required utility type of a user with optional props, right? And then if I do not set a value for example, username, let me go on and say, for example, username is my own name, and then password is something, right? So here, password is optional. So what about if I get rid of this? Let me do it one more time. Here, new user is complaining. Why? Because username is a string but required in type username, right? Let's see, property password is missing in type, right? Property password is missing in type but required in type. So password is required. But if I, of course, change this one, if I get rid of this, required utility type, everything will be okay. But the moment I add this required utility type, all the properties are turned into, required properties, and I have to, put a value for this one here, right? So this is the way to do it. This is the way that required works as opposed to partial. I'm going to talk about two other, utility types in this video. The next one is going to be omit, and omit is used when you want to create a type that excludes a specific properties from the original type. So let me get rid of these code, right? Let's get rid of these code. And then I'm going to declare an interface called car, right? And in this car interface, I'm going to say make is of type string. And then I'm going to say model is of type string. And then I'm going to say year is of type number, for example, right? And then suppose I want to have a type which emits some of these properties. So I'm going to say type car without, for example, year. And then I'm going to use the omit type utility. I'm going to say car, and then the type, the property that I want to omit is going to be year, right? So after that, I'm going to declare an object of type car without year, right? And then I'm going to say make is, let's say, Toyota. And then let's see, we have year here. We do not have year, right? But we have model. And model is, let's say, Camry. So this is the way omit works. Omit is helping us to get rid of the year property. We are going to put in the property that we want to get rid of here, right? And then we will have a new type, right, without the properties. The counterpart of the omit is going to be pick. So basically the way that pick works is that with pick we can just pick one or more than one properties from a type. So I'm going to say type car with make and model, right? And model. And then I'm going to say pick. And then I'm going to say car. And I can also, as I told you, have more than properties. For example, here I'm going to say I want the make property and then pipe, right? You can add pipe. And then I'm going to have the model property, right? And then I'm going to close this. And then I'm going to go and say const new car, right? Which is based on car with make and model. And then in the body, as you can see, I have make, I have model, but I do not have year. So if I type year, I don't get the IntelliSense. But if I say make and model, you can come here and copy paste this, right? It works. So this is the way that pick and omit work. Omit is omitting one or more than one properties from the type you are working with, and pick is the counterpart, is taking one or more than one properties from the type you are working with. And that's it for this video. There are other utility types as well. I'm not going to go over them in this video, probably other videos in the series, but you can also refer to the documentation to read more, or to obtain more information and details about these type utilities. As always, guys, if you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to A Coder's Journey so that you do not miss out on my upcoming uploads. Bye-bye.